गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जो की जाय नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जाय नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान Sarishila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtara Shata Shishmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupada Ashtara Shata Shishmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Achay Shri Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Oh, Hari Bol Kishori Mohan Prabhu. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Granga. Yeah. Hari Bol, everybody. Raseshwari Mataji, Gargraj Ji, Ganga Mataji, and everybody else who's watching. So, we're continuing on with our reading from this Bhāgavata-pravāha to get a really quick synopsis of the entire 10th canto. Yeah, so it'll take 4 days to get through the entire 10th canto, so this is our second day. And I'm going to just jump right into it. And then once we finish this, then we can begin, oops. Once we finish this, then we can begin the 11th canto. Okay. Oh, and I'm just recovering from being sick. Yesterday I got it kind of it came back again, and I felt like nauseous and a fever and really bad sinus. I was pretty bad last night, but this morning I'm feeling better again. But I'm really spacey right now, and so just letting you know why I might sound a little drunk, a little slow. Yeah. Okay. Haribo, Bhavatarani Mataji, and Nri Hari Prabhu. Dandavat pranams to you both. But I think I finally am at the end of it now. It was pretty bad before, but now I feel like I don't. Yeah. Anyways. So. Okay. The most mesmerizing flute song. Shukadev Goswami describes the beauty of the rainy season in Vrindavan with various analogies and life lessons. One second, let me just get my... He then describes the autumn season during which Krishna began his special conjugal pastimes. Wearing a peacock feather, blue karnika flowers on his ears, a yellow dress, and the Vaijayanti garland, Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered Vrindavan forest, beautifying it with his footprints. That's that famous verse, Barhapidam Nata Varavapa Karnayo Karnikaram, that one. As the Gopas sang his glories, Krishna played his most enchanting flute. Krishna blended his flute song with the chirping of birds and the movements of trees that carried the fragrance of autumn lotuses due to cool breezes. Sorry. Wait, let me just. Krishna blended his flute song with the chirping of birds and the movements of the trees that carried the fragrance of autumn lotuses due to cool breezes. At that time, the gopis gathered in groups and glorified the divine song of Krishna's flute and the reactions of various beings to that divine sound. The gopis' loving discussion is called the Venu Geet. The gopis said, Krishna's flute is more fortunate than us, for it constantly takes the nectar from his lips. When Krishna plays on his flute, moving beings become stunned, and non-moving entities tremble. The peacocks dance ecstatically, bucks and does worship him. The wives of the demigods are attracted. The cows drink that vibration with their upraised ears as vessels. The stunned calves stand still and embrace him within their hearts. The birds get absorbed like sages with closed eyes. The currents of the rivers break, and the arms of their waves embrace his feet, presenting lotus offerings. Even the summer clouds construct an umbrella for Krishna, and they shower cooling drizzles. The gopis also glorified the fortune of Vrindavan, which had attained the opulence of Krishna's direct footprints, and of Govardhan Hill, the best of Krishna's servants, which offered many services to Krishna, his cows, and his friends. During the Margashirsha, which is from mid-December to mid-January month, the Margashirsha month, which is from mid-December to mid-January, some unmarried gopis worshipped goddess Katyayani with a desire to get Lord Krishna as their husband. One day, early in the morning, these gopis left their garments on the bank of the Yamuna and started bathing while chanting Krishna's glories. Krishna then came there and playfully took away their clothes and climbed a kadamba tree just to tease them. The gopis pretended to become angry with Krishna and asked him to return their clothes, promising him that they would follow his orders. Krishna then told them to come and collect their garments with folded hands. When they did so, Krishna returned their clothes. Krishna knew that the gopis had offered their hearts to him and worshipped him, that they had offered their hearts to him and worshipped Katyayani to get him as their husband. Thus, Krishna fulfilled the desires of the gopis, who happily returned. Love born of simplicity and hearing. Once Krishna went for a long distance along with the gopas for herding cows. There he glorified the trees of Vrindavan. "O friends, see these trees. Despite their inconvenience of tolerating heat, cold, and rain, they help all of us in various ways for our sustenance." The trees, out of their natural love, bent down to give fruits to Krishna and the gopas. The boys became hungry and requested Krishna and Balaram to do something. Krishna told them, "Nearby, some Brahmins are performing a sacrifice for pious credits. You may go to them and ask for some food. Please tell them that Balaram is here, and later say that I am also here." The gopas went to the Brahmanas as per Krishna's instruction, but returned back in disappointment with empty hands, as the Brahmins neglected their request for food. Krishna slightly smiled and told them to approach the wives of the Brahmins with the same request, and the Gopas did so. The wives of the Brahmins had always been eager to see Krishna because they had heard about his wonderful qualities. Taking many fine foods, they ran towards Krishna, just as rivers flow towards the sea. Their relatives tried to stop them, but the ladies paid no heed. One of them was kept back at home forcefully. In separation from Krishna, she gave up her body, the cause of all bondage. When the ladies reached the bank of Yamuna, they saw Krishna dressed like a dramatic dancer, resting one hand upon his friend's shoulder and twirling a lotus with his other hand. The fortunate ladies embraced Krishna within their hearts. That's also a famous verse. Is that Nomirate Bravapuse Tarirambaraya? Gunjavatangsha? I think so. Or it might be, no, I can't remember. Krishna welcomed them and appreciated their selfless service. He said, "Intelligent people render unmotivated and uninterrupted service to me, as I am the dearest object of the soul." Then Krishna told them to return to their husbands. The wives of the Brahmins replied, "Please do not speak this so cruelly. We wish to remain in the forest, making garlands of tulsi leaves for you. We have already given up all material relationships. Our relatives and husbands will not take us back. We have no other destination other than your lotus feet." Krishna replied, "Your relatives will not be inimical to you. Being in my association like this is neither good for you nor for the society. You fix your minds on me, and very soon you will achieve me. Please go back." Thus Krishna bestowed his mercy upon them. The wives of the Brahmins returned to their homes, and by Krishna's will, their husbands didn't find any fault with them. In fact, the Brahmins came to their senses and regretted their offense to Krishna. Seeing their wives' pure devotion, they condemned themselves. "To hell with our high birth, celibacy, learning." I never know how to say this. Aristocracy or aristocracy? Aristocracy. And expertise in rituals. We are supposed to be gurus of all society, yet we are bewildered by Maya. The bhakti of our wives is rare. Although they did not undergo any Vedic processes like us, they have firm devotion for Lord Krishna. Though we have heard the Supreme Lord appeared in the Yadu dynasty, we failed to recognize him. Let us offer our obeisances to Krishna, hoping for his forgiveness. Reflecting in this way, they wanted to see Krishna, but being afraid of Kamsa, they did not do so. Humbling a proud servant. Let me just check the comments, see everything's. Oh yeah, and my Wi-Fi isn't working right now, so I'm using my phone internet. That's why, yeah, I'll keep on checking to see if it's getting choppy, because my mobile data is not always so stable. Hari Bol, Pujamna Prabhu, Mantra Murti Mataji, and Madhavi Didi. Dandavat pranams. Humbling a proud servant. As Krishna turned 7 years old, one day he saw the Vrajvasis making elaborate arrangements for a ceremony. Krishna then asked Nanda Maharaj about the purpose of the ritual. Nanda explained, "My dear boy, this is a traditional worship called the Indra Puja, performed to please the demigod Indra who gives us rain. Rain is vital for our living in agriculture." Krishna replied, "Happiness, distress, and fear are just the effects of karma. Indra cannot change one's karma. The clouds pour rain everywhere, including the oceans. What has Indra got to do with this arrangement? My dear father, our specific relationship is with the forests and Govardhan Hill. Therefore, I request you to forego Indra Puja and worship Govardhan Hill instead." Nanda said, Nanda said that they could worship Govardhan separately another time, but Krishna insisted that all the paraphernalia that had already been arranged for Indra Puja must be used for Govardhan Puja. He proposed, prepare various kinds of food items. Brahmins must invoke a sacrifice, feed the cows, and present offerings to Govardhan Hill. After everyone has eaten to their full satisfaction, circumambulate to the cows, Brahmins, sacrificial fire, and Govardhan Hill. Nanda Maharaj and other senior members of the cowherd community gladly accepted Krishna's sweet and logical proposal and performed Govardhan Puja as he desired. Krishna assumed the form of a mountain and accepted all the offerings. He offered obeisances to Govardhan and asked everyone also to do so. Being the all-pervading supersoul, Krishna was aware that Indra, at that time, was puffed up of his kingly position and heavenly opulence. Wanting to inculcate humility in him, Krishna stopped Indra's worship, while simultaneously inaugurating the most exciting tradition of Govardhan Puja for all time to come. Knowing that his sacrifice had been put aside, Indra became furious. He sent the powerful Samvartak clouds that are capable of destroying the entire universe. He sent those on Vrindavan. With wild lightning, thunder, and winds, the Samvartak clouds poured water incessantly in Vrindavan, like the piercing of sharp arrows. And the water was as thick as pillars, along with heavy pieces of ice. All the lands were filled with water. The cows were severely tormented by cold and took their calves underneath their bodies. All the Brajvasis took shelter of Lord Govinda. Krishna then prepared himself to counteract this deliberate exhibition of Indra's pride and wrath. Just as a child picks up a mushroom, Almighty Krishna then picked up Govardhan Hill and held it with his little finger on his left hand, the little finger of his left hand, and called all the Brajavasis along with their animals under the shelter of the huge umbrella of Govardhan. Enlivened, the Brajavasis happily came under Govardhan. In this way, Krishna held up Govardhan for 1 week, while personally reciprocating with the affectionate feelings of all the Brajvasis, who all loved him more than their own lives. Absorbed in Krishna's beautiful form with their loving eyes, none of them were disturbed by hunger, thirst, fear, or any discomfort. Despite his determined efforts for 1 full week, Indra could not move a blade of grass from Govardhan. This was written by, this is very Indian English. And so everywhere where it says Govardhan, it says the Govardhan. But then places where it should say the, it's missing the word the. So I have to keep on adding and taking out words while I'm reading. So that's why I mess up a lot. Okay, so Indra couldn't move even a blade of grass from Govardhan. His torrents of rain couldn't cause the slightest torment for the Brajavasis. Coming back to his senses, Indra asked the clouds and the winds to desist. As the rains and winds stopped, Krishna asked the Brajavasis to return home. Krishna replaced Govardhan back in its position. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, the Brajavasis greeted Krishna according to their individual relationships. Yashoda, Rohini, Nanda, and Balaram embraced Krishna. Krishna became celebrated from then on as Giridhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. The cowherd men were astonished at Krishna's activities. Nanda Maharaj told them of Gargamuni's astrological prediction that Krishna had qualities equivalent to Lord Narayan. Ashamed of his impudent act, wanting to seek forgiveness, Indra approached Krishna along with the holy cow Suravi. Not to further embarrass him, Krishna kindly granted Indra a private audience. Indra fell at the lotus feet of little Krishna and expressed his sincere apologies. Krishna smiled and spoke in a grave voice. My dear Indra, I stopped your worship just to show you my mercy and to remind you that I am the eternal master of you and the demigods. Always remember that all your opulences are due to my mercy. No one can independently become opulent without my favor. If I find someone overpowered by false pride, I mercifully withdraw all their opulences and powers. Krishna didn't dethrone Indra as the king of heaven or disown him as a devotee, but cautioned him to be careful of pride. Indra, accompanied by many other demigods, worshipped Lord Govinda and performed his bathing ceremony, his abhishek, and then departed to his heavenly abode. Yet another demigod. One second, just checking. Okay, it looks like it's still. Haribol Sudevi Didi. Okay, yet another demigod. Once Nanda Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Lord and went to take bath in Yamuna early in the morning on Dwadashi day. Mistaking that time to be inappropriate for a bath, a servant of Varuna, the god of waters, arrested Nanda. The cowherd men cried out for Krishna and Balaram as they could not find Nanda. Krishna then went to the court of Varuna deep under the waters. Seeing Krishna, fearful Varuna worshipped him and spoke. O Lord, your father is brought by my foolish servant. Please forgive him. You may please take your father home. Krishna became pleased with Varuna and took Nanda Maharaj home. Nanda Maharaj was astonished to see the place of Varuna and his worship of Krishna. Later, he described everything to the cowherd men, who were astonished and wondered if ever Krishna would show them the transcendental abode. Krishna understood their thoughts and took them to the lake called Brahmahrada and he had them all submerge themselves in water. There, they saw Krishna being worshipped by the personified Vedas in the transcendental abode. The divine dance of this is about the Ras Lila. You could see this is not, yeah. Anyways, doesn't matter. This synopsis isn't like the best, but I like, and you can see it's not done by somebody who's ever heard from Gurudev. Like Gurudev wouldn't call the Ras Lila the divine dance of God, but it goes through everything so quickly, and that's what I just want to get a quick synopsis. I don't know of anything else that goes through everything so quickly, and so that's why I'm reading from this. So, on the full moon night of the autumn season, Sharat Purnima. On the full moon night of autumn, the festive ambience of Vrindavan inspired Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. Krishna then began to play his flute, standing at Vangshivat. The gopis, all over Vraj, left their respective duties and rushed towards Krishna. Some of them were forbidden by their relatives, but they disregarded them and went to Krishna anyways. Seeing the gopis, Krishna gave numerous accounts of why they should return home, although within his heart he wanted them to stay. However, due to their deep attachment for him, the gopis only heard his external words, and then became heartbroken and thus fervently requested him to accept them as his maidservants. Some scholars call this appeal of the gopis as Pranay Geet, or the Song of Love. Hearing their plea, self-satisfied Krishna reciprocated with them by initiating the Ras dance. While dancing with the all attractive Lord, the gopis, being induced by the Lord's Lila Shakti, his pastime potency, the Lord felt very proud for having received such special attention from Krishna. The gopis felt proud for having received such special attention from Krishna. Noticing this, Krishna immediately disappeared just to intensify their love. Overwhelmed by feelings of separation from Krishna, the gopis searched for him all over the forest in the night, like mad persons. With their minds fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, they looked for him in various forests, asking moving and non-moving entities about Krishna's whereabouts. They enacted his various pastimes in order to mitigate their distress to some extent. As they were wandering, the gopis saw Lord Krishna's footprints, along with Srimati Radharani's. They understood that Radharani must have worshipped Krishna with unusual excellence, since she has been privileged to receive the rarest special attention from Krishna. As the gopis moved forward, they found Radharani alone in anguish. Krishna had disappeared from her sight too, when she had felt herself to be the most fortunate. Krishna had disappeared from her sight too, when she had felt herself to be the most fortunate among women, and had asked Krishna to carry her as she couldn't walk further. Then Srimati Radharani and all the gopis continued searching for Krishna and came to the bank of the Yamuna and prayed for Krishna's audience and mercy. The gopis had dedicated their minds and their very lives to Krishna. Their crying, which appeared like their misery, actually showed their exalted state of transcendental bliss. In their separation from Krishna, they sang a song called the Gopi Geet, in which they simultaneously accused and praised Krishna. They glorified the land of Vrindavan, where Krishna appeared. They accused Krishna of cheating them, yet acknowledged his protection from various calamities earlier. They expressed their desire for the blessings of Krishna's lotus feet, lotus hands, and lotus face. They glorified the process of Krishna Katha, remembered Krishna's entering the forest in the morning and returning to the village in the evening. They expressed their intense separation, which was making a moment appear like a millennium, and prayed for his favor again. In this way, the gopis sang, expressing their hearts out in various charming ways. They wept loudly in their longing to see Krishna. And they wept loudly in their longing to see Krishna. Krishna Darshana Lalasa. Then Krishna, with a smile on his lotus face, appeared before them. Seeing him return, the gopis worshipped Krishna. Seeing that the gopis were hurt due to his absence, Krishna pacified them. He said, "I disappeared from your vision only to increase your attachment to me. But I never stopped loving you. Please do not harbor any bad feelings towards me. I cannot repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your love for me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, may you be satisfied by your own glorious deeds." Krishna then initiated his enchanting ras dance, which is the topmost display of pure love between God and his energies. The gopis are the transcendental expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency, and as his potency, let me reread this. The gopis are the transcendental expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency, and as his potency, they are non-different from him. In the Ras Lila, Krishna looked at the gopis and touched them exactly as a child enjoys playing with his own reflection in a mirror. Krishna enjoyed with his own Swarup Shakti. These titles are so cheesy sometimes. A slithering surprise. Once all the Vrajavasis went to Ambikavan. Let me just check the connection. Hare Krishna Shasharmaji. Okay. Once all the Vrajvasis went to Ambikavan. They took bath in river Saraswati, worshipped Shiva and Parvati, and gave charity to the Brahmanas. They were spending the night there fasting, taking only water. Suddenly, a big snake came and started devouring Nanda Maharaj. Nanda cried out, "Krishna, Krishna, please save me." The cowherd men got up and started beating the snake with torches, but the blazing fire did not affect the serpent. Then Krishna came and barely touched the snake with his lotus foot. Thus, all the sinful reactions of the snake were destroyed, and he appeared as a Vidyadhara demigod. Krishna then inquired about his identity. The demigod replied, "I am Vidyadhara Sudarshan. Once I offended the descendants of Angira Muni, who then made me assume this lowly life form. Their curse is the mercy by which I have been touched by your divine foot that awards fearlessness." Sudarshan circumambulated Krishna, bowed down to him, and returned to his heavenly planet. The Vrajvasis worshipped Lord Shiva and went back while chanting the glories of Krishna. Whom to gift the jewel? Once during Dol Purnima festival, Holi, that's like Gaur Purnima day, that same day, Krishna and Balaram were playing with young girls at night. They were singing with all kinds of musical instruments. At that time, a servant of Kuvera named Shankachura came upon the scene. Afflicted by lust and envy, he started taking the girls with him, who then cried out for Krishna and Balaram. The lords then picked up tree logs and quickly pursued towards the demon. One second, I just need to cough. Shankachura saw them coming like death personified. Confused, he abandoned the gopis and fled for his life. Krishna chased the demon to take his jewel, whereas Balaram stayed back to protect the gopis. Krishna killed the demon and removed the jewel from his head. He then gifted the jewel to Balaram to avoid dispute among the gopis. Balaram later gave the jewel to Srimati Radharani. A song in loving remembrance. Although the gopis relished direct association with Krishna at night in the Ras dance, during the day they felt separation from him when he went to tend his cows in the forest. As Krishna played his flute to announce his coming to the trees, creepers, birds, and beasts suffering in separation, the gopis' love increased on hearing that sound. In separation, they sang about Krishna's transcendental pastimes in the form of a love song called the Yugal Geet. The gopis sang, "The beauty of Krishna attracts the minds of all. When he stands in his threefold bending form and plays upon his flute, the siddhas become attracted to him. The bulls, cows, and other animals become stunned in ecstasy and look like figures in a painting. Even rivers stop flowing. When Krishna calls the cows' names by blowing on his flute, even the trees and creepers erupt, and their sap pours down like a torrent of tears. Krishna's flute causes the birds to close their eyes in meditation, the clouds in the sky to gently rumble, and even such great authorities of music as Indra, Shiva, and Brahma to become astonished. And just as we gopis are anxious to offer everything we have to Krishna, so are the wives of the black deer who follow him, imitating us. When Krishna is returning to Vraj, he plays his flute while his young companions chant his glories." The inauspicious bull. One day, a demon named Arishtasura came to Vrindavan in the form of a bull with sharp horns and a mountain-like hump. Seeing him, the gopas and the gopis were terrified. By his roar, by his roar, pregnant cows and women had miscarriages. All the domestic animals ran away, and the inhabitants cried for Krishna's protection. Krishna reassured them. He chastised the demon, slapped his arms with his palms, provoking Arishta. With his arm over the shoulder of a friend, he stood there recklessly. Thus challenged, Arishta charged at Krishna at full speed in mindless rage. Krishna seized Arishtasura by the horns, knocked him down, broke away one of his horns, and thrashed him as if he were a wet cloth. Then Krishna struck the demon with that horn until he died, vomiting blood. The top secret revealed. As Krishna was absorbed in his pastimes with the Vrajvasis, his dear devotee Narad Muni wished Krishna's mercy and attention for his devotees at Mathura too. So he went and revealed the secret of Krishna's birth to Kamsa. Kamsa lost his control in fury and wanted to kill Vasudeva at once. But Narad stopped him, saying that if Vasudeva was killed, his sons would flee. Kamsa then had Vasudeva and Devaki shackled in iron chains. Kamsa called the demon Keshi and ordered him to go to Vraj and kill Balaram and Krishna. If the two brothers survived, Kamsa planned on bringing them to Mathura on the pretext of a Dhanur Yaga, a bow sacrifice, to worship Lord Shiva. He instructed his wrestlers and elephant keepers to make necessary arrangements to kill the boys. Kamsa then called Akrura, a noble minister, and persuaded him to go to Vraj to bring the two boys to Mathura. Akrura warned Kamsa that he was planning for his own misfortune, yet he was obliged to carry out Kamsa's order. Molten iron in a horse's mouth. The Keshi demon came to Vraj in the form of a huge horse running at the speed of the mind. He terrified everyone with his loud neighing. Seeing Krishna, Keshi ran toward him and struck him with his front legs. The Lord seized Keshi's legs and whirled him around and threw him in a distant. He threw him a distance of 100 bow lengths. Again, Keshi charged at Krishna with an open mouth. The Lord put his left hand in the mouth of the horse, which felt like his hand, which felt like molten iron, as all his teeth fell off. Krishna's hand expanded inside the mouth of Keshi and completely blocked his breathing. His bodily parts got dislocated, and the demon fell dead. The police and thief game. One day, the Gopas played the game of stealing and hiding. In that game, some acted as thieves, others as shepherds and others as shepherds and sheep. At that time, a demon named Vyomasura joins the game in the form of a cowherd boy, playing the role of a thief. He stole many gopas who were acting as sheep and put them in a cave. Only 4 or 5 boys remained in the end. Krishna understood this and seized Vyoma as if he was taking away. Krishna seized Vyoma as he was taking away more boys. The demon then changed to his original form and tried to flee, but could not free himself from the Lord's grip. Krishna clutched Vyomasura between his arms and threw him to the ground. Krishna then finished him up and rescued all the gopas from the cave. A painful scene of separation. Having received Kamsa's orders, noble-hearted Akrura mounted his chariot and set off for Vrindavan. During his journey, he felt intense devotion for Krishna and contemplated, "What pious deeds, worship, and austerities have I done? Today I will see Lord Krishna, although I am a materialistic person. Today all my sinful reactions will be eradicated, and my birth will become worthwhile, since I will offer my obeisances to Krishna's lotus feet." Thinking thus, Akrura reached the village at the time of sunset. He saw Krishna's footprints with distinguished marks of lotus, gold, etc. He became ecstatic and rolled in the dust. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balaram going to milk the cows. He immediately fell at their feet like a rod. Krishna embraced Akrura and Balaram, took him to their house, and gave all hospitality. Nanda Maharaj asked him about the well-being of relatives at Mathura. After the evening meal, upon Krishna's inquiry, Akrura revealed all of Kamsa's plans. Krishna and Balaram laughed and told Nanda Maharaj about Kamsa's plans of the bow festival. Nanda then issued orders throughout the village to collect milk products and go to Mathura for participating in the festival. When the gopis, who could not bear even a moment's separation from Krishna, heard this news, they became devastated. They feared that Krishna would never come back from Mathura. Meeting in different groups, they began conversing with tears in their eyes, and they sang the song of separation, the Viraha Geet. They condemned the Creator for separating them from Krishna after showing them his beautiful face. They commented that Akrura did not deserve his name since he was so cruel, Krura, and taking their dearmost Krishna away. Akrura means not cruel, Krura means cruel. Lamenting their own fate, they blamed Krishna, who, they accused, breaks loving relationships easily. Contemplating the good fortune of the residents of Mathura, they said how the dawn was going to be auspicious for them, for they would be seeing Krishna, the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Yet, they said, the same dawn would immerse them in mortal agony. Because the elders of Raj were not forbidding Krishna to leave, the gopis decided to try to stop him themselves, keeping aside their shyness. They loudly cried out, "Govinda Damodar Madhava, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti." But even as they wept, Akrura began taking Krishna and Balaram to Mathura on his chariot, followed by the cowherd men of Gokul. The gopis also walked behind for some distance, but then they became pacified by Krishna's glances and gestures that said, "I will return." With their minds completely absorbed in Krishna, they stood as still as figures in a painting until they could no longer see the chariot's flag or the dust cloud being raised. Then, chanting Krishna's glories, they despondently returned to their homes. Wonderful vision in the waters. Haribo, Haribo, Sajan Maharaj, and Yashoda Didi Tandava Pranam. Hare Krishna. Okay, wonderful vision in the waters. Akrura's chariot arrived at the banks of the Yamuna. Akrura entered the waters to take bath. While chanting mantras, he suddenly saw Krishna and Balaram in the waters. Surprised, he came out and saw both of them sitting in the chariot. He then re-entered the pool. He saw Ananta Shesh with thousands of heads receiving praises from the Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas. He then saw the Supreme Lord lying on the lap of Shesh, being worshipped by Nanda, Sunanda, the Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, the demigods, the devotees, Prahlad, Narad, and others in their unique moods. All his material and spiritual potencies were with the Lord. Beholding this spectacular vision, Akrura experienced ecstatic symptoms. He bowed his head, and with a choked-up voice, he offered prayers to the Lord. Revealing his delusion as a materialist and praying for his deliverance, he expressed his humility. Finally, he surrendered himself to the Lord's lotus feet. An eventful tour. By the end of the day, Krishna, Balaram, and Akrura reached Mathura. Akrura and Akrura invited Krishna to visit his home, but Krishna said that he would come after killing Kamsa. Krishna, Balaram, and the Gopas eagerly went out to see the splendorous city of Mathura, filled with tall gates, archways, doors of gold, pleasant parks, mansions, peacocks, and gem-studded floors, balconies, and so on. The residents of the city, especially the women, were eager to see Krishna. They had often heard about him and developed deep attraction for him. Krishna and Balaram met a washerman on the path. Krishna asked him for some clothes, but the arrogant washerman of Kamsa not only denied Krishna's request, but also chastised the two lords as uncivilized mountain dwellers and forest wanderers who desired the king's garments. Krishna, as if becoming angry, beheaded him merely with his fingertips, and thus liberated him. The washerman's assistants dropped their clothes and fled. Krishna, Balaram, and all the Gopas then took garments that suited them. Thereafter, Krishna and Balaram saw a weaver who lovingly came forward and decorated them with beautiful cloth ornaments. Pleased with the weaver, Krishna blessed him that after death he would achieve Sarupya Mukti, and while in this world he would enjoy supreme opulence, physical strength, influence, memory, and sensory vigor. The two brothers then went to the house of a florist named Sudama. Sudama offered them obeisances, bathed their feet, worshipped them, and offered them garlands of fragrant flowers. Sudama asked for pure devotion, friendship with devotees, and compassion for all living beings, and Krishna gladly granted them. Krishna then came upon Trivakra, Kubja, a young hunchbacked maid of Kamsa who was carrying fragrant ointments for the king. Krishna asked her identity and requested for some ointments. Trivakra was attracted to Krishna's beauty and gave both the brothers her ointments. Krishna then pressed her toes with his lotus feet, took hold of her chin, and lifted her, thus straightening her spine. In a moment, Trivakra became splendidly beautiful. Attracted to Krishna with conjugal feelings, she even grabbed Krishna's cloth, asking him to come to her house. But Krishna avoided the invitation, promising her to visit later. Krishna proceeded further and arrived at the arena of Shiva's bow. Although the guards blocked his way, Krishna forcibly picked up the bow, effortlessly strung it, and broke it in half, producing an ear-splitting sounds that struck terror in the hearts of Kamsa. Krishna and Balaram then picked up the two halves of the bow and beat to death the guards who attacked them. The people of Mathura were astonished to see the amazing prowess and beauty of the boys. At sunset, Krishna and Balaram returned to the cowherds' camp and rested peacefully. But Nanda Maharaj couldn't sleep out of concern for the boys' safety, and Kamsa couldn't sleep, fearing his imminent death and seeing many ill omens. The final blows of death. In the morning, the grand wrestling festival began. The city dwellers and visitors from nearby places sat in the lavishly decorated galleries. Kamsa, as his heart trembled, took his seat on the royal dais. Krishna and Balaram heard kettle drums heralding the start of the wrestling match and went to the venue. At the entrance of the wrestling arena, a mighty elephant named Kuvalayapid attacked Krishna with his trunk. But Krishna struck him back and hid among his legs. Kuvalayapid sought Krishna out with his sense of smell. Krishna teased and tormented the elephant and finally pulled out one of his tusks. With that very tusks, he beat the elephant and his keepers to death. Sprinkled with the blood of Kuvalayapid and carrying his tusk on his shoulder, invincible Krishna entered the wrestling arena along with Balaram. Different classes of people saw him in different ways according to their specific relationship with him. Just like a pair of excellently costumed actors, the two mighty armed lords shone splendidly in the arena. Indeed, they overpowered the minds of all onlookers who opened their eyes wide to drink the nectar of Krishna's face. The residents of Mathura discussed about Krishna and Balaram based on what they had been hearing about them all these days. On Kamsa's order, Chanura and Mushtika came forward and wrestled with Krishna and Balaram. The women in the audience especially felt compassionate on the charming boys and found this great injustice. They appreciated the good fortune of the gopis in Vrindavan, who never had to see Krishna in such a piteous condition. Vasudeva and Devaki became aggrieved with sorrow upon hearing the lady's statements, as they did not know the strength of their sons. As the women were talking, Krishna made up his mind to kill the opponent. After showing their expertise in wrestling and enjoying the fight, Krishna and Balaram killed Chanura and Mushtika respectively, who then fell down like trees vomiting blood. Balaram playfully killed another wrestler, Kuta, and Krishna nonchalantly killed Shala and Toshala. As the remaining wrestlers all fled for their lives, Krishna and Balaram danced along with their friends. Whee! Except Kamsa, everyone else rejoiced. In a mad rage, Kamsa ordered that Vasudeva, Nanda, Ugrasen, and all the cowherds be punished, and that Krishna and Balaram be driven from the assembly. Krishna became furious and instantly jumped onto the high royal dais. Kamsa took his sword and shield and moved swiftly like a hawk. Krishna, however, grabbed Kamsa by the hair, hurled him down onto the wrestling ring, and he jumped atop his chest. Striking him with his fist, Krishna caused his death. To pacify and prove to everyone that Kamsa was now dead, Krishna dragged his dead body in the wrestling ring. Having always thought of Kamsa in fear, Kamsa attained Sarupya Mukti. Kamsa's 8 brothers then attacked Krishna, but Balaram easily killed them with his club. The wives of Kamsa lamented for his death. The Lord consoled the widows and had the funeral rites performed for Kamsa and his brothers. Krishna released his parents Devaki and Vasudeva, who then simply stood with joined palms offering respects. Not liking such a reverential attitude in his parents, Krishna covered them with his yogamaya and consoled them. Then they raised the boys to their laps and shed tears. Krishna then installed his maternal grandfather, Ugrasen, as king of the Yadus. Krishna and Balaram approached Nanda Maharaj, embraced him, and consoled him. "O Father, you and Mother Yashoda have affectionately maintained us and cared for us so much, more than your own lives. The real father and mother are they who take care of the children who are abandoned by relatives. Now you please return to Vraj, and we will come later after giving some happiness to your friends here. Nanda was overwhelmed with intense affection and lovingly embraced the two boys. Then, with tearful eyes, he went back to Vraj with the cowherd men. Okay, so I think we can end here. Or should we read about Sandipani Muni? Okay, let's read about Sandipani Muni and we'll end there. This is short. Education of the Supreme Knower. Thereafter, Krishna and Balaram went to the school of Sandipani Muni at Avantipur. To teach the proper way of respecting one's guru, Krishna and Balaram served Sandipani Muni with great devotion. Sandipani Muni, pleased by their service, imparted to them detailed knowledge of all the Vedas. Just by once hearing each subject, both the brothers assimilated it completely. Thus, in 64 days, they mastered the 64 traditional arts. Knowing the prowess of Krishna and Balaram, Sandipani Muni asked them to bring back his son, who had died in the ocean at Prabhas, as Guru Dakshina. Sri Krishna and Balaram went to Prabhas on a chariot. Krishna asked the ocean god to return his guru's son. The ocean god informed that a demon named Panchajana, who was living in the ocean, had taken the boy. Krishna then entered the ocean, killed Panchajana, and took the shell that had grown from his body. He didn't find his guru's son within the belly of the demon. Krishna then went to the planet of Yamaraj and blew his Panchajanya conch shell. Yamaraj devotedly worshipped Krishna, who then asked him for Sandipani Muni's son. Krishna and Balaram then returned to their guru and presented him with his son. Alright, so we're ending here. Tomorrow we'll read about Uddhav going to trying to console the Vrajavasis. But actually, this is all not to really console the Vrajavasis, but it was to show Uddhav the glories of the Vrajavasis, and especially of the gopis. So we will come to that. We'll start with that tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityala Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nityala Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nityala Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सारवा विश्व विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय। राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज मुन गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भागवती दशम स्कंद की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाशच कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow. And I think I'm at the end of my, did I already mention this at the beginning? I'm pretty much at the end of my sickness now. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be a bit more lively and focused and yeah. But yeah. All right. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna Balaram Chandranath. All right. Dandavat pranams, everybody. See you all tomorrow.